Welcome to the Her Voice Shines podcast, where we celebrate the power, brilliance, and resilience of women everywhere. I'm your host, Shanadra Washington. Join us as we share inspiring stories and insights from extraordinary women who have found their voice and are making a difference. Together, we'll create a ripple effect, illuminating the path to visibility and empowerment. Let's break barriers, shatter ceilings, and lift each other up. In each episode, we dive deep into the journeys of women who have turned their challenges into triumphs and their dreams into reality. Whether you're looking for motivation, guidance, or a community that understands your journey, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and remember, let your voice shine. Let your voice shine. It's Shanadra Washington, the beautiful host of the Her Voice Shines platform and podcast. I am here in the beautiful city of Houston, Texas, and it is steaming up. It's already like 80 degrees. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, but hey, I chose this climate, so I had to live with it, right? Let me say something. I always say this every time I record. You guys know I record in batches. It's like it goes to a different high, a different level. And people are here being transformed and sharing things that I don't take lightly. You guys know this place is a place of passion for me, and we treat it as none other than that. But guess what? I have a guest. Y'all already know I go all through their stuff, looking at all little ticky dot things so that we can come here and amplify them in the way that I think is fit. We have a beautiful guest today that's going to come to the stage and do our normal drill. Tell us her name, where she's streaming from, and we get the magic of her story. She's real bright and bubbly, so I'm so happy for you guys to see her. And here she is.
Hey, Shanadra. Hey, everyone. My name is Dr. Krystal Couture. I am a physical therapist and an acupuncturist. I am coming in today from New Hampshire, which is actually my home state. I was just in Austin, Texas, so yay, Texas. And I'm really, really glad to be here. Here's a little bit about my story. I opened my practice about 19 years ago. It's really hard to say that because I can't believe it's actually been 19 years, but it has. And what I found, I was working with a lot of sports medicine clients and they were getting better. And then they were sticking around. And it's like, hey, why are you sticking around? What's going on? And it's like, oh, well, I think what we're working with, I think the way you're needling me is going to help with other stuff. And I'm one of those people, I like to go deep. So I'm like, okay, what other stuff are we talking about? And you guys, this is 19 years ago, okay? So during that time, people were not talking about the pelvic floor. They were not talking about pelvic pain. They were not talking about dyspareunia, which is pain with sex, right? None of those things were conversations that anyone was having. And these were the conversations that I started to see in my treatment room. And what I found is that these clients needed support. They needed a practitioner that was going to make them feel safe to have the conversation that they didn't know how to have, that they weren't comfortable really saying out loud, that they may not have ever, got into the depth of it before. And there wasn't much research then. There weren't a lot of people doing pelvic floor therapy. And I wanted to help them. I wanted to start a crusade to give a voice and provide help for this very, very underserved population. Furthermore, I didn't want to just provide symptom relief. I wanted to help these clients to achieve sustainable results. Now, fast forward, I've done that in my practice for many, many years, and it took me a while to develop the techniques and the strategies to support this population. But now the cool thing is in the last few years, what I've been doing is actually teaching other practitioners, continuing education courses, specializing in pelvic health so that we can create a ripple effect to help this population. 33% of women and 16% of men experience pelvic pain or dysfunction. That's a big number.
That is a big number. I was coming from backstage to nod my head. I say that that is huge. You know what? First off, let me just go back to the opening statement. She said 19 years. I don't know what's going on with my guests. They must have found the fountain of youth because I'm trying to figure out how this lady has been in practice for 19 years. Are you lying to us, Krystal?
Cosmetic acupuncture and microneedling. Look
like
it up.
Clock it, because I'm seeing it. You look, and I told her even before, so I said you look so bright. I told her that before the show had even started because you look so bright and energetic, and it has to be doing something because you look absolutely amazing. I'm so happy
Oh,
you're doing this. I think physical therapy is something just in general as a practice. It's just something that people may not understand the power of it if they haven't had to walk the walk with PT. And I've had to walk a lot of it because my grandfather, unfortunately, at 79, he had a stroke. That was back in 2024. And because of that, we've had so much relationship and interaction with physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, all the chiropractic, all the different things. So I think in these recent years, I developed a greater appreciation and
mhm.
knowledge set for the work that the people in your fields actually do, because it's been transformative to my life. I mean, you think about somebody 79 having a stroke and he's back walking. I mean, he's not back to where he was, but even to see where he came from at that age,
Yes.
I mean, to me, it changed my life. So, and I tell people, I get to walk the life again through this podcast because it becomes like real adjacent a lot of times with the guests. So, for the work that you do, I don't know if a lot of people who watch the show may have had, that adjacent walk with therapists, but I'm telling you guys, these people are doing life changing work. And it's not always the easiest work. They're coming in with people with severe pain, moods and all the things. They not only have to navigate their expertise in the pain, but there's a lot of emotional steps that goes along with physical therapy and the sort. So thank you for that.
Shanidra, can I say something?
Of course.
Okay, there is a limiting belief around this. Okay, for
Mhm.
some reason we believe, right, that we have to suffer or we have to struggle. And whether that's with pelvic pain or dysfunction, or whether it's any kind of pain, or whether it's that we had
Mhm.
an injury or a stroke or something like that, and we
Mhm.
can't function the way that we used to, there is help. There are practitioners that are outside of like the primary care world that can help
That's good.
us all, right? To live better lives. And
Mhm.
access to that is complicated because of insurance and all of these other things. But if you
Yep.
start to search, right? You guys who are listening, if you start to search, there is someone that can help you with the struggle. We do not have to live in a struggle.
I love that. And my goodness, guys, it it changes things, right? I'm gonna be honest, right? We went in there and to see my grandfather go from such a strong, even at 79, he was, I mean, the only reason why they approved him for the surgery that unfortunately had a stroke after that surgery was because of his physique. This guy was like still cutting, he was still, so to see him go down to that, it was just like a shocker. Sometimes I still can't even believe, like, it's just the mental thing. But to see him start there, I'm like, oh gosh, like what is this even gonna be like? And we did like inpatient for 7-8 weeks, and then we went to outpatient for 16 weeks. So of course it transformed my life too, because I'm having to go and do all these things with him, run a business, do all the things. But to see like a transformation like week 6, where I'm like, this guy's back walking like 50 feet. He couldn't even lift his leg up. 6
Yeah.
months. I mean, like it literally brings tears to my eyes because I had been there through those transformational moments to see some things come back to him. Let me ask you this, because pelvic pain and sexual health historically has kind of been silenced.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because when I said, "Oh, this is so good," because number one, we got somebody here that's going to talk about it, and I love this because it brings it to the community. People are scared; there's taboo about it. Why do you think it has been silenced so much, and what can we do to change it?
Oh my gosh, why has it been silenced?
Yeah.
You know, I think there's shame, right?
Yeah.
In talking about these things, right? Saying I have urinary leakage, saying I have pain with sex, right? There's a lot of shame around those conversations. And I think that culturally, we were just not brought up to talk about these things. How many women have not had a conversation with their family members, right? Their moms, their grandmothers, about menstruation or about menopause or even about their fertility journey. So, these basic conversations and basic education about understanding our bodies has not been the streamline. So, of course, we're not talking about the progression of that, right? So I think that when we really look at what do we need to start to illuminate that there is support, that this is a problem that deserves a voice. We need multiple facets here. And the first one is we need education of what is happening to our bodies, what is happening through the hormone cycles, what is happening through the life transitions. And we need to be able to recognize that pain is not normal. Leakage is not normal. Dysfunction or dyssynergia is not normal.
Y'all hear that, guys? It's not normal, and there are actually people that can help you with that. I think that's the like biggest thing I want to take really from that segment, because here I am thinking like, did you have a conversation anywhere in your development about something like this? And the answer is no. I mean, I think now, right, if it happened, I would probably say, maybe call my sister or best friend or maybe have like a brief conversation. But to think about, was it like a part of, discussion, or if this was to happen, let's say it happened when I was 21 or 22, way back when. To be honest, I probably would have been a little reclusive because who do I go and tell this to? Is it really something wrong? Are they going to judge me? And there's all these different things. So I think bringing this to the forefront is so good. And we as women specifically, guys, we have to kind of take our power back and go and do the research. Take the power back and do it and step out. I know it's not easy and it can be scary, but we are in a society now where we have more answers now than what we did maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago. So it's kind of up to us to take that step and get that knowledge. I want to switch very quickly here, and then we're kind of going to come back to the professional side, because first off, I want to tell you, you out here doing some rock star stuff. You have come here and presented with so much life. And I look back and she said, there was some imposter syndrome that, tried to creep in. First off, let me say that you enough. Kick the imposter syndrome in the butt. I don't, and I look at my guests and I get very fortunate because I'm like, how did these people choose my podcast? And these all these different things. And I truly get the best of the best. And I don't say that braggingly, but it's really divine order. It's just who comes here. Tell me about imposter syndrome. How did that show up in your career? Because there was a time where it showed up in my career big time. Dr. Krystal, oh my gosh, it was wreaking havoc. Okay. Yeah. I've gotten better, I think, at different phases because life is evolution and you got to go into new territories. I think sometimes it tries to creep in like a little bit sometime here and there. But overall, tell us about that, because I know that my audience is seeing such a display of someone with so much subject matter expertise that's coming and saying all these things, but then they're hearing imposter syndrome in the background. Talk about those worlds mirroring, because we as women, that's another thing we don't talk about, Dr. Krystal. So I want you to talk about that and tell me how this kind of shown up and what does Dr. Krystal do to kind of work through that.
Oh boy, that is loaded. Okay, let me just breathe into it for a sec. As women, we have so often been told this story of how we are supposed to be, right? How we're supposed to act, how we're supposed to exist, what we are supposed to do with our lives. And many of us have found ways in which we break those rules, right? Simply for me, taking this step to being an entrepreneur was something that had never been done in my family. Having doctoral level education had never been done in my family. My mom, however, was a women's health nurse, and she was the COO of a community health center. She still consults, and she consults for my practice as well. So I saw a woman in power. And honestly, that lineage for me and that recognition of the days that she was fighting at the state level, at the country level for women's rights, through the 80s and 90s, and witnessing that as I was growing up, that is my North Star. It was my reminder that we can be strong, women can be strong, and we can be even stronger together. And so that's what I focus on as my North Star. Where the imposter syndrome shows up, is because I want to give a voice to this population, because I want to give a voice to practitioners who are helping the pelvic health population, is that I am in the public eye, right? On social media, on websites, on blogs, on all of these things. And it's really easy to feel like you're not enough, to feel like somebody has already shared this idea, to feel like this is nothing new, even though this is a cutting edge topic, right? But I still feel those things from time to time. And what I have found is that sticking with my North Star, sticking with my why, and remembering that I am the only person that can share this in the way that I can share this. And if you're a woman and you're listening to this podcast, you're the only one who can do it your way. So do it your way. Be big, be bold, let your whole heart shine. Open your mind, open your heart, let them bend, let them expand, and keep evolving. And you're going to find your North Star too.
I'm telling you, that is sound advice. And I think so many women get caught in that, specifically, oh, she's already doing it, or, what am I going to bring to it, and all the different things. And for one, this podcast is it's a great representation of that, right? There's thousands of them out there, right? And I remember when I started, I was like, do I really want to start this? I mean, there's so many out there. Right, that are talking about all kind of ones. There are broad ones, there are niche ones. And like, what is this thing really gonna mean? But I can tell you, like, so small in number, but transformative. Like, it is transformative. We've literally had people that have been on the podcast that have been like on, Good Morning America, and they'll come back and say, this is like literally the best podcast I've ever been on. So I'm saying that to say you have to really hone in on your journey and your unique expertise, because likely things are going to continue to, I mean, like, my grandmother said, there's nothing new under the sun. I think, and there's been newer things in our generation. We have, adoption of AI and all this. So there are newer things under the sun per se, right? But how we navigate it and touch it, that's kind of like a one-on-one thing. And I don't think many women get to really sit in that and understand that. So when I think back to, even, I guess you could say, we're talking about imposter syndrome, when it tried to creep up, even when I was creating this thing, I had to literally sit and say, no, Shanadra, like, this energy, like, if I would have met Dr. Krystal in the store, we have H-E-B here in Texas. We swear by H-E-B. We think we're the king of grocery stores with H-E-Bs. But if I had met you at H-E-B, this would have been the same exchange. So when I started to have those exchanges with people in doctor's offices and stores and all the places, I said, oh, no, we got to bring this to the screen. We have to give this to people, because this is something that I know that's a gift, and let's just share it. And whoever's called to come under that gift or experience it, that's just how it's set in the plans. I'm not looking to touch everybody on the shoulder. In divine order, who's ever supposed to come and we connect in this space, that's what happens.
It's real, Shanadra. It is real. And, that's what makes it special. That's what makes it magical. And I think the key to combating imposter syndrome. Oh, I got something. Okay. I got it. I love when things come in, is that when we are feeling imposter syndrome, okay, when we are feeling that energy of something doesn't feel right, it's because we are doing something outside of our integrity. We're doing something outside of what our true self is saying that we want to put forth, right? It's saying that we're doing this in a way that doesn't exactly feel right. So go back to your heart center, go back to the space of you, and share you. Do it big and bold.
Do it big and bold in one shot. I love this, but I know I had to come there because I just see just such passion and such, like, you're an expert in this thing. So I had to make sure you walked that out and really understood that on this podcast, and go back and play it again. But you don't have any reason at all to have that in what you do. You and the fact that your mom, was such a girl. Come on. If that was my mama used to do X, Y, and Z. I would be that girl. Because I thought about my grandfather all the time. I said, now, wait a minute. My grandfather was a man's man. Now, he used to be 40-year-olds at 75. So do not play with me, right? I would always have this thing about it, but it's in you and it's through you. So just walk it out and be that thing. No one can do it like Dr. Krystal Couture. Who can do that? Like, really? I'm just saying.
Truth.
That's
And
it.
we need And we need each other, right? We
We do.
need people to
Yeah.
say that to us. We need, like,
Yeah.
it feels really good to say, oh my gosh, Shanedra is like lifting me up, and I can lift her up too and say, girl, you are doing this podcast like nobody else. And it might not be the biggest one, but it is amazing. There's magic there. So keep doing it.
Absolutely. And you have to get into that community to do that, because one of the things so I mean, at some point I still a little bit do like some form of coaching a little bit, but I do like a lot of speaking. I'm moving into schools and stuff like that. But I would notice that when I was doing like one-to-one coaching, oh my goodness, it is one that you really have to be strong and get fortified boundaries, because what happens is that that other person, they still have the slums and the highs of their mind too, right?
Yeah.
They have that. So when you're coaching someone, that sometimes it's like an energy pool, because you're trying to keep the highs up and they go to the lows of their mind. So I had to say, you know what, you have to be intentional about who's going to be pouring into you and who's going to be that system that's like, we're not coaching, we're just kind of women, we're builders, we're visionaries, and we know the call and the pull, and we have to be there to lift each other up, because all of us in this room has a specific job and a specific mission to do. And we're the backing for that. We're like, girl, you better dust your knees off, dust some shoulders off, and get back out there. We know that life is going to happen. So I think I really learned that in the one-to-one coaching, where I had to make sure I was pulling back. And just like you said, having that person that was like, okay, girl, we know that was rough, but you got to kind of get back out there. You have to guard yourself in a way that you can still pour, but you have to have a pourer too, because
Yep.
it's going to happen. And that was really something I had to really play with, because when I was doing it heavily, like the one-on-one thing, I wanted to give the best results. I wanted to be there. I wanted to stick and have like real results and all that. But sometimes people are not always as honest with themselves as to where they are. And that shows, and that'll show pretty quickly. So, you have to go through all those mental gymnastics. I want to ask you this, because I like that you are kind of using an approach really to your healing framework. I like people that have approaches, because I've been with people, they just got this one thing. I'm like, we're just not a one thing person. Like, give us a little mesh. And so I like that about the healing framework, because it's like biomedical. I have organ systems, and I have like emotional and spiritual patterns.
Yeah.
Okay, now, Dr. Krystal, that's pretty good. Now, tell me how these come together in practice, and like just walk us through that three-pillar approach.
Yeah, for sure. So when I look at the pelvis, I have found that we can get results in a number of different ways. But having been in practice for so long and reading evidence-based research for so long, I have found that it seems like a combined approach is really the key. And some of that comes from collaboration amongst professionals. I'm an acupuncturist and a PT, and I spend a lot of time sticking needles in people. That is my primary modality, right? And collaboration is a huge, huge part. But what acupuncturists can do, and maybe this is a little education for the audience too. I don't know if folks know this or not, but acupuncturists actually work with the biomedical model. Like you said, they work with those muscle tissues, those tendons, those ligaments, those areas that are causing exact, direct pain, right? Beyond that, acupuncture works, and some people call this like the energy or meridian system, and that is to an extent what it's called. But those highways of electricity actually connect to the organs. And it has been proven that in research that we can affect how the organs are functioning, right? Especially in relation to how the organs are functioning with each other. So that's layer two, is this idea of seeing the body as a kingdom, seeing the organs in communication and relationship with each other. And then that final component, and many people have started to realize that acupuncture is good for this, is balancing the nervous system and getting us to be in a regulated system, right? A regulated nervous system. So when we sort of bring together what can happen on the physical body, what can happen deep within the organs, and what happens on our like spiritual, emotional level, that's when we get results that really, really stick. And what I've found over the years is when I've gotten referrals from OBGYNs, when I've gotten referrals from other even pelvic PTs, chiropractors, family members, etc., when I'm able to mesh these together, then I'm able to get the results that stick. And that's what I'm teaching to other acupuncturists, is how to get those sustainable results and how to mesh the knowledge of these three pillars or three facets together. And it's true of pelvic floor, right? And that's my specialty. So that's the language I'm speaking in. But it can also be related to the other parts of the body. There's research coming out now that shows that emotions can get stuck in tissue, right? They can create dysfunction and stagnation in that tissue. So when we have our body telling us something, okay, if your body is telling you something, it says there's pain, there's discomfort, there's tingling, there's something weird going on here, that is a message. You need to listen up to that message. That is so, so important for your body. Okay, listen to the message. And then furthermore, we have to look at the multiple facets that can be contributing. And there is help out there. Go see an acupuncturist, go see a PT, go see a primary care, go see somebody so that you can get support. We don't have to live in the suffering.
Mm, that is really good. And you actually went back to school for acupuncture, right?
I did. Yeah, I did. So my story's interesting. So I was a PT
Yeah.
and I just ended up getting into sports medicine because it kind of like it called me in. And through that, I very quickly found that um I did a fellowship in dry needling. So I was actually using a needle as a modality as a PT way before it was cool. And I did a long, long course, not just a weekend course. I did a full
Mhm.
fellowship. And it was not long after my fellowship was over with that I really felt like the needle was doing more than muscle tissue release. And
Mm,
that was a hard realization to take in, because all of a sudden it felt like my credentials and what I was putting out into the world was not really in integrity with the medicine I was sharing. And
that's
to
deep.
do serve, yeah,
That is
it was
deep.
like identity crisis, right? And so to do service to that, I went back to acupuncture school so that I could feel like I was in integrity with the medicine that I was practicing. And it was one of the best decisions I could make, because it helped me to synthesize all of this together and helped me to take what I knew worked to the next level to be able to share it. And you know what? There's only so many patients I can treat per day, right? There's
Mm,
only so many patients my associate can treat per day in our little, area in New Hampshire, right? But if I'm teaching this medicine, then we're impacting people in Minnesota, in Florida, in California, all over. And that's good. That's good. When we can impact more people, we can help more people, when we can drop these numbers, these percentages of people with pelvic pain and pelvic dysfunction, that's the real magic, because their quality of life is changing. And if their quality of life is changing, guess what? Whoever is either caretaking for them, like you were for your granddad, or in their life, right? Their partner, their lives are going to be improved too. And
mm.
that's good stuff. And I just like really, okay, I have all the science, but like I want to put good juju into the world, and I want to help people put good juju into the world.
I think that's so. I mean, to me, I was really floored by it. I was like, oh, because you already had the expertise, in PT. It's like, I went back to school. That's why I was like, okay, this is something special, and I hope she knows that, because I was like, wait a minute, how did she get the I'm going through the whole cycles in my mind to figure out like how did she even, bring the acupuncture. I mean, that's for one, it shows that your mind is innovative, right? It shows that it goes beyond like the norm, and that's not a I hope you know this. That's not like a normal skill set. Not being rules to all kind of people. I'm like, that's what you think it's not. That's it. And
Hmm.
that's not be
Hmm.
disrespectful. It's
Yeah.
no disrespecting it, but it helps me to really pick out unique skill sets and talents in other people, because you have people who will go beyond the norm that's in the room and say, well, hey, I think this other thing could be a factor, and here's what I'm kind of putting it in. And you did that like an actual practice. So I hope that you know that that's pretty dang special. Because
Thank you.
I was trying to put it together in my mind. And I think that probably helps you to help the practitioners that you're teaching kind of move beyond like the symptoms to the actual like why behind it. Does that? Yeah, because I was like, I'm trying to, my mind is like always cycling when you guys are talking. I'm like, that is the magic right there, because it moves it from just this, oh, here's the actual, ow, this hurts. So we're like, no, could be something else beyond, ow, this hurts, that is in the overall diagnosis and treatment of what we're trying to do here.
That's where the magic is right there. We got to get to the source. We got to get to why that hurts, not just it hurts and I don't want it to hurt anymore, right? Let's like make that clear. I don't want it to hurt anymore. That's number one. Number two is let's get to the source of why it hurts so that it does not come back. Let's resolve this in your body. Let's repattern your body so that it is not in this state of pain or dysfunction anymore.
That's good. I love that. And I think as I have these conversations, I mean, it just kind of like unlocks other things in me, because I love that you said something about emotion could be in the tissues.
Yeah.
I mean, and even if it's not pelvic pain, even if you're like just going through a stressful situation, please believe me that emotions can be in the tissues, in the muscles, and other places. And I'm learning this as I'm getting to a certain age. Not Dr. Krystal. I'm getting to a certain
we all are, sister.
I'm getting to a certain age, and I'm like, okay, and I can quickly go back and say, okay, if you need to reduce this, you need to try to go to sleep at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, because these right here are direct relationships with the stressors in your body. Yeah, there could be something else going on, but I know specifically that these particular things come from these actions. And I don't think people, maybe, I don't want to say they don't want to, but they're not attuned enough with their bodies, or maybe not even want to be vulnerable enough to know that some of these external emotional things have such a critical role on our bodies. And
yeah,
I'm telling you, like, we talked about it throughout the interview, like the 2024 period up and, so now, my grandfather's still elderly. I was doing so much, Dr. Krystal. So I'm thinking, how did I even survive those 18 months of all the therapies, the outpatient? I'm a mom, I'm a business owner. I'm so thankful that I survived, because I didn't know if I was coming or going. There are some days that was just literally, I would get to the day, it would be 10 o'clock. I'm like, what happened? Like, I woke up at 6 a.m. and I did this, and like everything had just been such a whirlwind, but my body was paying for it.
Yeah, you're running on adrenaline, right? You run on that adrenaline because you have to survive. And you're a woman who says, this has to get done. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find that energy. I'm going to cultivate it. And then there is some point, right? There is some point when things start to calm down, and it's like, I got a little beat up there. And you're right that you said it. It is hard to be vulnerable. It is hard to feel into your body. It is hard to look at the pain. It is hard to look at, the journey that led us to the pain. Those are hard self-reflections. But when we do them is when we can impact our vitality. That's how we can change the trajectory of how we age. And we have to be thinking about that. We have to be thinking about aging well and keeping our vitality as long as we can.
And maybe that was kind of the wake-up call for me during that period, because when you're just living and you're not in the room with people, and we met all kind of traumatic experiences. I mean, that experience changed my life, because it wasn't just like stroke patients. I met families of kids that had muscular dystrophy and cerebral palsy, and so traumatic things. Met a kid that was 22 years old and fell off a horse, and life changed forever. So me being able to be in those rooms and speak to so many different families, and some of those families started following me on Facebook and all the places. I built a community. Like, I really did build a community, because we were all there for a specific reason, for a loved one or whatever. So we built a bond off of something we never thought we would have to build a bond off of. And we started having like real conversations, like, okay, what's to happen if we were in these situations? I didn't expect to have that type of conversation. If someone would have asked me 6 months ago, would you be sitting in a waiting room or having lunch with someone, and you guys are in this facility brought together by these situations? I would have never told you that.
Right.
But because
Right.
of that experience, we've talked about that, what are we doing to kind of stay active and all these different things. So to have a community come from that, which was very traumatic for me, I still consider it a great blessing because I would have never had those conversations, Dr. Krystal. I'm telling
Right.
you, I don't see how I would have if that was not the norm for me. So
Sure.
just knowing that and me trying to be more intentional, I'm taking that in, and I'm just happy that you're here to kind of coin that of how we really think about how we age and movement, and also to the vulnerability around saying, hey, something isn't right and I'm going to get it checked out. So
Yeah.
that's powerful. Now I want to go here because look, I'm gonna ask you this and I need to be asking myself this.
Oh, I'm ready.
Because you said that you are in this provider mode all the time. You're like, hey, I'm in a provider mode, but my business needs to kind of grow too. Like, I'm struggling. I'm trying. I'm doing a little bit better. I can probably say I'm better than maybe a few months ago, but I'm not clear. So that's why I say you probably should be turning the mirror on yourself. How are you navigating that with that? It's something
I hear,
like,
yes.
oh my gosh, like I really wish I was better here. I'm committed to getting better, but I'm not in the clear. Tell me about this providing role and then trying to do the business go. Like, tell me about that and how you're navigating the space.
Shanidra, this is, a huge, like, effort right now. I hope it's not always an effort for me, but I have a clinical practice. I am teaching outside of my state at least 8 times per year, which takes me away for about a week at a time. And, I have a husband, I have 2 naked cats, I don't have children. But it is hard to have a work life balance, right? And to make sure that I'm able to take care of myself. And I don't always do a good job. There are times when, I flew in, I told you right when we got on the call, I got into my house at
Yes,
1 o'clock in the
yes, you did.
morning. And I've got a full clinic. I'm in scrubs right now. I got a full clinic, today. But I wanted to do this because I believe in the mission. And I think there are a couple facets to this. One, you have to do the thing that it is that fills you up, that helps you to take care of yourself. For me, that is like going on a walk outside, getting to like be really quiet, meditate, no phone. That helps me every single day to feel like I can put my feet on the ground, be grounded, get a little bit of a recharge. The other thing is you have to find the things that you need to say no to, right? You have to find the things that are not serving you, that do not feel like they're lifting you up. The things that feel like there's so much effort, so much work, and just don't give you anything back in return. And it's hard to say no, especially if you're that provider and you've been saying yes for years and years and years. It is hard, but you find a way to say no, and then you get to find yourself, and you're going to be able to serve way more people, way more, of your own heart and your own family if you kind of get that streamline in of what is my heart saying? What do I need to be doing? What do I want to be doing? Not just what do I need to be doing? What do I want to be doing? And in business, you got to just make it yours. Like everybody says, you've got to do this kind of marketing and this kind of funneling and this kind of niching. And now we've got AI. And so use AI for this. Do it your way. Okay. Do it your way. Be proud of it. And don't try to do all the things, because this life is short and there are only so many moments.
There are, and I think when I left my corporate career in 2021 and I started this thing, I had no business like knowledge. I hadn't sold anything, like not even any Mary Kay, any tea, any cookies, nothing.
Nothing.
I came into it. I think I was like so overwhelmed by all the different systems and what people were doing. I mean, that was just like 5 years ago. But it's even evolved so much, even since the time that I, decided to do this. And one of the key things is I said, and I said, what, you are a great relationship marketer. I didn't know this. I'm talking like I'm this old, what you were. I didn't know that. I didn't know that 5 years ago. But I knew, of course, there had to be systems. You couldn't just rely on that. But one of the things is you have to be able to put that into what you do, because that's going to free you.
Yeah.
That's going to be what's the free. That's not to say that you don't infuse technology, you don't, stay up on industry trends. We're not saying be naive. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to take your best marketing skills and put that forth and then allow things to build. Now, as things change, models change, things grow, there, of course, has to be some tinkering and things of that sort. But I spent a lot of time just trying to go by the book type marketing with all of the things and stuff out there.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, that doesn't really work for you. And that doesn't really feel like you're operating in integrity with some of these things. So I wanted to make sure that, if I said that these things stood for something, that I showed up in a way, in a light that it mattered. So even if, this didn't convert today, I mean, I have people like, I've been watching you for 3 or 4 years. And they'll call and it's like, you've just showed up and you've done it the same way and, this and that. And that to me is just so much leverage. So with you saying that, kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier, you putting your spin on what's kind of already out there and you choosing to do it your way. Because you'll spend all this time chasing and chasing and chasing, Dr. Krystal, and you will never get to, they say, till you made it. And you'll never, quote unquote, make it because you spent all this time chasing all of these misaligned systems. So I'm happy you said that. I want to ask this one thing before we get a connection segment. Kind of behind that, we talked about, picking the things that kind of matter. But you said this. You said, oh, the hardest thing to do was to ask for help. You said it, Dr. Krystal, not me. But
It's true. It's true. Okay.
Tell me about that.
You know what? In the past probably 3 years, I spent a lot of time being like a solo provider, right? I have like 2 of the best friends in the world, and they are there for me, and that is amazing. But I will say this. In the past few years, as I've developed this component of my practice that is a teaching practice, right? I found a group of 10 women, including myself, who are all in the same field. We're all acupuncturists, and leaning in to this group of women to share our successes and to share our failures and to share what is weighing heavy on our hearts. We have a text, we text each other every day, all the things. And it has changed my life. I never knew how alone I felt until I literally fell into this group of women and feeling like I have support, feeling like I am seen, feeling like I am heard on this professional level has been absolutely pivotal in my level of energy, how much I'm able to contribute, and all the things to not pay attention to. It's way easier to have a group of women who are elevating you, who are supporting you 100% of the way and calling you out, right? It's not just about the accolades. It's also about calling you out. Like, how can you be better? But also telling you when to dismiss the hater on social media, when to dismiss the, client that didn't fit, right? When to move forward in your path without getting stuck, without feeling like I'm not enough, I failed, right? And getting stuck in that. And so it's been for me this network and this safety net of these women who are 100% there for me and who I am 100% there for. And it's a game changer. So if you feel even the hint of being alone, once you lean into something that's a little bit bigger than yourself, you're going to start to feel that gift of what it's like to have support. And that's been one of the greatest transformations that's happened for me in the past couple of years.
I love that. It goes right back to that system of support. Now, I want to make sure we have a clean segment, Dr. Krystal, for connection points. Let people know where to find you, where to follow you. If there's any, tips or links or anything you want to provide, just let us know here in the segment. So I'll cue over to you so we have a clean segment for that.
Hey everyone, if you want to connect with me, I am available on Instagram at the Pelvic Acu, and that is spelled ThePelvicacu. And my website is thepelvicacu.com.
You heard it, and look, y'all heard what she said. She just got off a plane at like 1 o'clock. We're recording this. I mean, it's 9:46. Look, it's 9:46 Central Standard Time on the day we're recording this. So I said, what? We're gonna go ahead and roll. We're not gonna get on Dr. Krystal's case today because she still came and showed up for us today, but she literally just got in from Austin, Texas, of all places. I said, I'm looking like, what? She's on it. We're not gonna do that, okay? We're just gonna thank you for being here. But this is a part in our show we cue to our guests for final thoughts. We ask them to give us some great parting words for this space and really something that captures the essence of Dr. Krystal Couture. So I'm going to curl you for final thoughts, and I'll be back to close the show.
I think this has been such a amazing reflection of my journey, but also the gifts in my journey along the way. And I think to just put this all into perspective, the first thing is do not live with your suffering. If it doesn't feel normal, it's not normal. Number two is there is help available. You might not know exactly what that help is, but start having conversations. Start looking for providers that can serve you. And number three is lean in. Lean in. Find a group of people that will love you, support you, accept you, and lift you up. And number four is you can do this. You can do this. Be big, be bold. I want to see your beautiful, smiling faces in the world doing what you love.
She said it right here on the Her Voice Shines podcast. And one of the things that I'm going to get better with this podcast, I always try to act like these are 30-minute exchanges, and I hold my guests hostage for like much longer. So I always have to apologize because we've been talking for like 46 minutes. It never feels that way. It never does. I'm telling you guys, time just goes so quickly. And I'm just so honored and grateful that you chose to stop by here. And I don't take it lightly. I think that all of my guests are divinely placed. I never, have that, who's going to come, who's going to sign up. It's the right people for the right time. And I'm always okay with that decision. I really am. So all of you that are watching out there, the Her Voice Shines podcast, man, I'll tell you that miraculous things happen when you let your voice shine. We have had so many wonderful guests that have been literally embodiments of that. So I hope that you take our journeys and not do it just like us. That's not what this podcast is for. But we want you to take nuggets to help you really stand in who you are and the mission that you are called to make here in this space. And like the folks in church say, I love you. Ain't nothing you can do about it, okay? And come on back next time for another amazing woman here on the Her Voice Shines podcast. Until then, we love you and we're out.